Hello my friends, welcome back to a new video. I'm very happy to finally talk to you guys again, sit down with you. I know it hasn't been very consistent. I've been swamped with coaching sessions and clients, which I'm very excited about, but that leaves me with a little less time to post on YouTube and Instagram. I have a few interviews that I'm still planning to do with recovered clients from mine, a few that have recovered from my course, a few that have recovered from coaching. But it's very difficult to puzzle everyone in and to find the time to do all of that sometimes, both from my side as the other people's end. So just be patient to wait for some more beautiful recovery stories, people that have found their inner peace again through my course, through my coaching. Just very excited for them to share their story with you and to give you some more hope and motivation to keep going in what can sometimes feel like a very doomed journey. Trust me, I know all about it. I know one of the biggest symptoms of struggling with DPDR existential anxiety is the thought that you're never ever going to recover and that you're the only one, the exception that recovery is impossible for. But trust me when I say that every single person has this, and you're not alone in this. And everyone I've worked with so far has told me that exact thought. So I guess I'm here today to talk a little bit more about my journey and what it was like for me, because I know I give a lot of tips and tricks, but I haven't made a lot of videos kind of just going more deeper into my experience myself. And I know that sometimes that just helps the most, just to hear someone that got through it talk about it. So yeah, I guess I'm going to be here today to share with you some things that now, looking back, I could see myself doing before I started to feel better that were not helpful and that you're probably doing too. So this video is just to make you aware of that and for you to get some extra insights and maybe things you're doing that aren't really helping you with your process. I actually didn't know anything about DPDR until after I had already recovered, in the sense that I always just assumed that I had anxiety, that I had like a very weird extreme panic that made me look at things and think like life's not real, or am I even real? I just thought that was anxiety, and I never really, to this day, it's still weird to me because DPDR is so incredibly strange and so incredibly intense, but for some reason, I just really labeled it as anxiety. I know that just reading about DPDR itself, reading the term, researching the term, brings up so many doom stories that I think part of the reason why people struggle for so long is because they identify and they really identify themselves with this term and with the stories around it, and they kind of apply that to themselves. And for me, it was just, I was clearly traumatized, I was clearly unpeaceful, I was clearly unsafe. And so my question really was focused on, how do I make myself feel safe again in the world, in life, in myself, with my emotions? And I think that helped me a lot because it made me really able to go to the core without like focusing too much on like the term or like what it's described as. But that being said, apart from that, I feel like almost every single person I've worked with has a very similar story to mine. So you probably will relate to a lot of the things I'm about to share with you. So what were the things that I did that up until I stopped doing them, I could not really feel better? I would say that the first thing is rationalizing my way out of existential dread. So I had this little journal, I had this little notebook, and it was my obsession. Anytime I would have this DPDR wave come over me of like, oh, am I really here? Like, what's the point? Am I real? Is life real? Is this my body? I would try to find rational proof to why I was real or why life was real. And I would find all these crazy philosophical exhortations in this little journal that would bring me just like temporary relief. But after like an hour or so, my mind would just creep back and say like, but what if that's all imagined? And like, what if this or what if that? And my mind always found something to argue with whatever I came up with. And it wasn't until I literally just stopped doing that and was like, fuck it. If the world isn't real, then the world isn't real. If life isn't real, that would suck, but I couldn't change anything about it. It wasn't until I start responding to the thoughts like that, instead of rationalizing my way out of it, that I finally was able to let go of some of that control and actually just get to a more peaceful state within myself again. The second thing I did wrong for a long time that made me not recover was assume that my thoughts were telling me the truth. Anytime I would have a thought, or like more a question, but behind every existential question, there's actually like a belief behind it, like a thought that is arguing for you to ask that question. In a lot of cases, it's not really about asking the question, it's more kind of asking the question but assuming the worst case scenario when you ask the question. So if I would ask a question like, what's the point? Or like, what is the meaning of life? I would more have that question in the sense of like, there is no point, like there's no meaning to life. And so that is the second thing I realized, is that your thoughts don't tell you the truth. So every time I had a thought like that, like life has no meaning, I would just assume that my thoughts were telling me the truth about life. I would just assume that if my mind was telling me this, it must be true, because I must be so smart that I have figured out everything about reality. Basically, it's kind of an egoic thing to assume that you have it figured out. Like, it's a very arrogant thing almost to assume that your mind is telling you the truth about life, when there's like billions of people on this planet. Everyone has different belief systems, everyone has different thoughts, but somehow I thought I was right, like I had figured it out, I was true about life, and like whatever my thoughts were telling me was coming from this source of wisdom. No, it was not. It was just coming from fear. And the thing is, when you're anxious, when you have fear, like your mind will look at anything and just assume the darkest thing, especially when it comes to the existential stuff, like assuming death is horrible, assuming that life has no meaning, assuming that, we're living in a hallucination or whatnot. You just don't know if that's true. Like, you just have no idea of knowing. So don't give so much agency to your mind, to your thoughts that think they're right, basically. I just wanted to nuance this really quickly, because I know that some people might now say, yeah, but like, what if they are true? Like, what if they are telling the truth? The thing is, like, the only truth there's never any way of knowing. And so that's why it doesn't make sense to assume the worst case scenario, because you literally can't know. So knowing that you're living in fear, you almost have to recognize the pattern of your mind trying to prepare for the worst case scenario as that being the reason why you have these thoughts, and not because that possibility of reality is more possible or likely to happen, if that makes sense. The third and last thing that I wanted to share with you that I did wrong before I started to recover is try to avoid feeling anything, basically anything stressful, anything anxious, which looked like anytime I got triggered by something, I'd be so afraid of my own feeling, I'd be so afraid of my own fear that I just run from it, that I just try and distract myself, that I just like try and find that rational answer that would make me feel better, instead of just sitting with my feelings and just like accepting them and sitting with them and learning to feel safe in my own body and mind again. Because that's at the end of the day what it comes down to. You're not necessarily afraid of existence. You are very much afraid of how existence makes you feel. So you're afraid of your own feelings. That's actually often what it comes down to. And DPDR is a protection mechanism of your nervous system that will protect you from the thing you're afraid of by dissociating from it, by disconnecting. So if you're afraid of yourself, there's literally no wonder that you're dissociating from yourself. Like, that's always what I'd figured out, that if I don't feel safe feeling my feelings, if I don't feel safe sitting with my thoughts, then no wonder that I'm feeling completely disconnected from myself, because why would I allow my nervous system connect to a thing that I'm really scared of? So like switching from running and distracting and avoiding feelings to learning to sit with them, become comfortable with them, which is something that I focus on a lot in my recovery course as well, obviously in coaching. And it's so strange because it seems so obvious, but we've never been taught how to feel normal and safe with our feelings. We're just always taught to be in our minds, and to be rational and to be more in that masculine controlling energy, rather than in this feminine energy of surrendering and letting go and trusting and nurturing and feeling. I guess this is what I had prepared for today and that I wanted to talk to you guys about. There will be more interviews coming up soon, more recovery stories, but like I said, I've been really swamped with sessions and yeah, it's just difficult to schedule everything. So yeah, I'm gonna edit this, I'm gonna upload this, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful day, a beautiful night, wherever you are, just that you feel a bit better after watching this video. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!